Hello everyone, it's Crash Knife Fight. So, last week I was all set to make a video about the new content EA released for BF2. Mostly, I wanted to talk about the Droidicas, the TX-130 clone tank, and the Naboo Capital Supremacy map. Unfortunately, the matches I was in were so bad, and I was having such a horrible experience, I knew it was going to influence my opinion, and I felt that the video I was attempting to make was going to be pretty shabby. Being on the losing end of so many lopsided games where my team seemed incapable of taking the initiative or maintaining a defensive position, I started to ponder why I'm encountering so many bad teammates. In the online shooter world, regardless of the game mode, matches typically go one of three ways. The first is a pitched battle. Both teams are fairly evenly matched, and these tend to be a slugfest. In a game mode like Galactic Assault and BF2, that means a match goes into overtime, often in the last round. Pitched battles usually end with a good move by one side or a little bit of luck. Most would consider this a good game. I don't mind losing this type of match because everyone is playing hard and sometimes things just don't go your way. The next is when your team shellacks the other team. Every phase, match, or round, your team is dominating. I won't lie, this is pretty fun as well, if you are the victor, of course. Nevertheless, if your team is getting steamrolled, which is the final way a game can go, it sucks. We've all been there. No matter what you do, the opposing team is either putting up an impenetrable defense or just waltzing right onto objectives without breaking a sweat. It's frustrating, and there is nothing enjoyable about this experience. Now, it's possible the other team is just stacked with crazy good players, but it's more likely that your team is just god-awful. The real problem is that I seem to be encountering this more and more in BF2, and there's no reason for it. Not in a game that has been on the market for nearly 2 years. Look, I'm not a great player. I would say I'm above competent. 90% of the time I'll be in the top 5 at the end of a game. I get some decent kill streaks from time to time, and I know what works and what doesn't. But I'm also observant, and some of the habits and behaviors I see from my teammates makes me want to give up online gaming altogether. It perplexes me when I see some of the ridiculous BS going on during a game. I don't want to turn this video into a list of stupid things teammates do, but it's worth noting some of the idiocy one sees during a game, and they all follow certain patterns of behavior. The first one I'll call the tourist. This is the player that decides entering a game with 39 other players is the best time to dick around and go exploring. They will stop and look at details of the environment or shoot at animals and inanimate objects. While the rest of your team is getting their faces melted by blaster bolts, this tool is off on their own little adventure, far away from the action. Why? Do you have ADD? Did you forget you are in the middle of an online game? Stop it. If you want to explore, go to arcade mode. These dorks are absolute cancer to a game, and it's even worse when one or more of their buddies comes along for the ride. The next is the Hero Hoarder. This player grabs a hero or villain the first chance they get and will avoid putting the character in harm's way in order to collect some cheap kills, or worse yet, become a hero hoarding tourist. Heroes and villains are a great asset in the large map modes, and while I understand that everyone wants to sustain their kill streak and run around the map having fun with their favorite character, that kill streak should be directed at the objectives. Look, nobody cares about your 25-player kill streak except you. Elite players can rack up way more kills and do it by actually engaging the opponent where it counts. All I ask is that you pick a hero or villain suited for the map you are on and use them to help your team. If you die, so what? You'll get another chance at some point, and better yet, you will give another player an opportunity to help their team. A third type of horrible teammate is Captain Corpse. Captain Corpse wants to be a good teammate, but due to numerous head injuries or lead poisoning, they don't seem to process that running straight into a group of enemies is just going to turn them into a useless carcass. They head straight to the action, which is admirable, but do so haphazardly, and they only manage to get a kill or two before getting taken out. It's too bad BF2 doesn't have an exploding suicide vest star card, because this would up Captain Corpse's KD ratio. You may think that Captain Corpse is just a noob, but you'll often see players with high ranks and levels exhibiting this behavior. The negative effects of this type of player are mitigated in bigger game modes where a few good players can make up the difference, but their appearance on smaller game modes like Blast or HVV can create a serious issue if they are racking up the deaths faster than your team can get kills. Sometimes you have to pull a Leroy Jenkins, but that should not be your default strategy in shooters. The Afk Player is another form of a bad teammate. Whether they're away from keyboard or away from controller, these teammates cannot even be bothered to be in front of their screen. I'm sure most of us have ran into the bathroom or grabbed a drink from the fridge in between games, and maybe we don't always make it back before the next match starts. That's forgivable. But if you have to walk your dog or go make a sandwich, do your teammates a favor and back out of the lobby. Much like Captain Corpse, the Afk Player is more detrimental to game modes with a smaller number of teammates, particularly in HVV. I'm sure once in a while there's a good reason why an Afk Player is standing like a statue at the back of the map. Maybe they are currently experiencing a home invasion, or alien abduction. Perhaps their pre-game warm-up includes a quick session of transcendental meditation, and they accidentally astral projected themselves across the universe. Barring any of the aforementioned scenarios, don't be AFK. You started the game, which assumes you meant to play the game, so just play the damn game. The lovable noob will also be a bad teammate. I don't want to hassle new players too much here. We're all noobs on day one, and if you pick up a game post-launch, you have a steeper learning curve than those that have been there since the day of release. Not to mention progression systems and unlockable weapons and equipment may put you at a disadvantage early on. Additionally, some players just have a knack for picking up games. They spend a hell of a lot of time at the beginning getting better. It can be intimidating trying to learn a new game, and individual game communities can be really toxic to new players, and I'm not the type of person to drive players off. Nevertheless, don't go from being a noob to a Captain Corpse. There are a wealth of resources out there to help you learn a game quickly. Every popular game has a community with a social media presence, and there are always a ton of videos and articles with tips and how-tos to improve your gameplay. Even watching live streams can make you better. Way too often, I see players that have managed to rank up classes to max level in a multitude of games, and yet they still make ridiculous noob mistakes. The final bad teammate is Captain Coward, which is the antithesis of Captain Corpse, and even less useful. Captain Coward is perpetually waiting for that right moment to make their move. You'll find them lurking outside a doorway or down a hillside just outside the line of sight of the enemy. Often they come in the form of the specialist, far from where they actually have to deal with a player up close in a 1v1 situation. One of the biggest problems with Captain Coward is that this disorder seems to be contagious. The longer the enemy holds the objective or pads their defense, the more risk-averted your team seems to become, until there are 8 or 9 players hovering around the outside of a doorway and peeking at the enemy. It's both cowardly and stupid because most maps in BF2 provide multiple routes to an objective. So take the initiative, move somewhere else, or go ahead and take one for the team and start breaking up that defense. It's a video game. I promise, it's not gonna hurt. I asked the question why my teammates are so bad, but I have known the answer all along. It's a choice. You may be a bad player, you might be having a bad day, but you will notice very little of what I covered here deals with individual performance. Someone is a bad teammate because they elect to take on these behaviors that do not work towards completing objectives or defeating the opposing team. You could say, well, it's my game, I'll play it how I like. And you're absolutely right. You don't owe another gamer anything. You paid for the game, and damn it, you can do what you want. But for me, I'm a big proponent of accountability, and I think it's something we are seeing less and less of in today's world. Call me crazy, but I like to win, and I want to help my teammates win. That's far more enjoyable for me than running around, acting like an ass, and stomping on everyone else's good time. Alright, so I'm done ranting for now. I had to get that off my chest because it's been bothering me for a while. I hope your encounters with bad teammates are minimal, but if you find yourself surrounded by idiots, just know that you're not the only one. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for new content coming soon.